Okay. Hi, guys. Happy Friday. It's Danielle from CNY Fertility's Patient Support Program, The Fertile Spirit. And we're here on this Friday with the lovely, brilliant, insightful, intuitive Meg Thomas, who is also the founder of the Intuitive Fertility Community and one of our coaches at The Fertile Spirit. Meg and I wanted to jump on today. She actually had the brilliant idea of talking a little bit about egg retrieval. What exactly is the title of our topic today? I mean, I know what it is, but
what we wish we knew. What we wish we knew before an egg retrieval. So both of us have experienced an egg retrieval, and yeah, there's a whole lot, and you can't learn all of it before you go into a retrieval. But there are a few tips and things a little insights now that we've experienced it.
Yeah. And I was saying it's kind of like you can read about it, you can research about it, but until you do it or, really get that firsthand kind of experience of it through sharing it, it doesn't quite, I don't know. I wish I knew more. So hopefully we can help clear up any questions you guys might have. And again, just want to reiterate, we work as coaches. We are not medical professionals in the sense of we're not nurses or doctors. So this is our kind of anecdotal personal experience that we're sharing. Absolutely. And we're each just going to share a couple of things today. It's kind of a quick one. If someone has a question, we're happy to also respond to your questions. So, all right, Meg, you're up.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yes. One of the things that I wish I had known before doing a retrieval was that there are some legalities to it of ownership. So I was going through this with my husband, and we showed up the morning of the retrieval, and he works nights, and so he had just gotten off of work, and we are close enough to the center that we were able to do the sperm collection at home and then drive it in, right? And so we get there. He's now been on, 14 hours of being awake and really needs to be sleeping at this point. And we get there and we're presented with like a legal document of who gets ownership of this if one was to die or get divorced or separate, whatever that looks like, right? And so all of a sudden I'm like, I didn't know this was a decision I had to make. So, which is a very important part of the process. So if you're going to end up with eggs in the end or embryos in the end, it makes sense if it's eggs, that you have that ownership. Here's the puppy. But if it's an embryo, which would be both, from my husband and myself, who's going to get that? Who's going to get that? Right. So I had no idea that this was a question that I should have thought of prior to the moment of retrieval. So I wished I would have known that ahead of time. So it could have been a conversation versus a decision to be made in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's especially if I was on my own for egg retrieval, so I didn't have to encounter that. And to be honest, I haven't really contemplated that. So it's like, I'm so glad you're sharing that, because that is, I would imagine for most couples, the kind of conversation that you wouldn't want to have in the moment as you're about to do a retrieval, but to really kind of have time with it and to be able to process it. So I'm glad you're bringing that to light. Thanks, Meg. We love your puppy. It's fine if he jumps up.
Yeah,
I love him. Yeah, I want to talk about maybe the injections, and this is different for everybody. Everyone has their own experience. And I know that depending on where you're at in the process, the shots are different. So I know for like when you're doing IVF, like it's a different shot. But I just want to say, as far as egg retrieval went, I was so freaked out about what it would feel like and how much it would hurt, and like, would I be able to do it? And I was freaked out the first time, but once I did it, like for me, speaking for myself, like it wasn't so painful or confusing or complicated. I actually was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. And I actually started to feel really proud of myself for like just being able to kind of be I'll say like a warrior about it, but I was just like a woman on a mission, and I like had my intention, and I didn't really bruise very much. And, maybe that's just my body, but I was like proud of myself. And now, like, when I think about getting shots at the doctor or anything like that, I feel like I have way more of like a capacity to kind of like endure and to feel grounded, even like while I'm doing things that are a little uncomfortable. So I was really freaked out before I did the shots of like how awful it would be, but it was okay. Yeah. So
I love that. Yeah. I was not able to do it to myself until the very last shot. So it took like the whole cycle of having someone else do it for me before I had the courage to do it for myself. So, yeah.
But it's kind of like, I also think it just shows us what our resiliency is, because I was traveling, I was on my own, I didn't have anyone to do it, and I did it, like I can imagine that if I had someone there, I'd be like, no, you do it, so just also like learning what our strength is, and seeing how that can come through when we're in it. I mean, we are just so strong as human beings, and we're so adaptable, for better or worse. We are adaptable. And so, yeah. I just want to look at a couple of these questions.
Okay.
So the cost of egg retrieval is different at every clinic. Don't quote me on this. I believe, unless they've changed recently, it's $2,900 to do just egg retrieval at CNY Fertility. And if you want to do monitoring as well, which is what you do leading up to the egg retrieval. So from this kind of like right after the start of your period up until usually about a couple of weeks. Again, we're not doctors, but this is just very general information. That's the monitoring period where you go in for ultrasounds and blood work so that they can kind of see how you're progressing. And that I think is another $1,000 at CNY. Again, these might not be exact numbers, but CNY is one of the most, if not the most affordable clinic in the country, which is amazing. And there's payment plans and all that stuff. Let's see. A lot of pain. Someone was saying they had a lot of pain after their egg retrieval. And we kind of we were on Instagram before, and we kind of just talked about how everyone's bodies are, so unique, so individual. Sometimes we might feel fine right after, and then maybe a few days later, we're feeling it more. So I'm sorry that you were in pain. But I think, and as I said before, to really be, you are the expert on your body. And I know Meg talks about this a lot, but like, you are the best person to advocate for yourself and to tune into what you're feeling and to really voice that, and to really, really trust that if something feels off to you, that you get the kind of support that you need, and be the squeaky wheel. Because sometimes it's anxiety speaking, and sometimes it's things that really need to be addressed. And so to just kind of suss that out with a medical professional to make sure that you're being taken care of is so important. I don't know if you have anything to say on that, Meg.
Yeah, I think that we know our bodies best. And I think it's knowing when something is wrong, or something just feels, even if it's something we've never done before, right? Like, your body is going to start to give you messages. Your intuition is going to start to give you messages. So never be embarrassed to ask a question, to reach out, to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, right? Like, there's just so many different experiences that we have through this with our bodies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, like, I know we're getting a lot of questions that kind of verge into the medical realm. And so I just want to say, we're not nurses, and we're speaking from our personal experience of doing this. And so some of the information that I'm sharing is really just based on either very general information or things that anecdotally I've experienced. Typically, you start stimulating on day 2 or 3 of your menstrual cycle, typically. So that's usually when you would start, just answering that question. We talked a lot about, because like I said, we were on Instagram before, and we talked about how people get very attached to the numbers even going into it, and that as you go through your cycle and your retrieval process, those numbers are going to change. So you might have X number of follicles at the very beginning. You might end up having more towards the end because maybe they were small and they were hiding, or maybe vice versa. So it's just always shifting. And just because you have a certain number of follicles, it doesn't mean that that many eggs are going to always be retrieved. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, sometimes some of those eggs are too mature, or some of those eggs aren't mature enough and they freeze fewer. So it doesn't mean, like, sometimes there are people who have lots and lots and lots of eggs that they freeze, and they don't end up, they not as many of them end up making it all the way to a baby or to an embryo. And sometimes people have a very, very small number and they end up getting, multiple super healthy embryos that become healthy babies. And so trying not to be too attached in the moment. And as we said before, really, even in spite of whatever's going on, or if you feel disappointment, to simultaneously be grateful to your body for even going through this process. So important. It's a lot for our bodies. So staying in touch and connected and not rejecting the body and going, it's so important that we do that. Are you seeing these questions too?
No.
Okay, only I'm seeing them. Okay, so Danielle says, waiting for my period. It should be here in a week or two. I have PCOS. Any last minute advice or tips to help?
I think, I would say, look at, as you are going into this, what does your support system look like? What are the things that you can do to love on yourself, self-care, right? For me, it's like walking in nature or taking a yoga class or, those kind of things. And who are your support people? Like, who are the people that can help you through this time? Because to go through the experience of the retrieval, there are a lot of emotions that come up. There's a lot, just so much information. There's so many things I didn't know that could happen, or this happened, that kind of thing, that we don't even need to get into in here, because every person's experience is so different in that. So it's like, what are the things that you can do that will help support you through this time, right? So when a lot of people know about the 2-week wait and, this time period of if you are going to do this and try to conceive during this cycle as well versus just doing a retrieval. So you have this time period where you're this waiting period, and you can have all this pressure of that, where sometimes you feel really optimistic, sometimes you don't feel optimistic, all of that range of emotions. Well, there is a period of time within the retrieval that is similar to that. And I think a lot of us don't know that going into this, but from the time we retrieve the eggs to the time that they actually mature, it can be a couple days. It can be as many as, I would say, 5 days, right, Danielle? 5 is the max, I think.
Oh gosh, I didn't know it was that long. Actually, yes. I'm not sure.
So it could be less than that, but it could be up to the, how many days for the embryo or the egg to mature before they freeze it. And so in that time period, you're also waiting, because the numbers are going to continue to change, just like what Danielle was saying. So, so look at, I would even make a list. Like, if you can make some sort of list of things that are going to support you, and make it before, when you're in a good, high vibrational place. Make it, these are the things that bring me joy. These are the things that make me happy. Watching a movie, watching a funny show, whatever that looks like for you. So have a list ready for when you go through this experience.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't know, I think that's like maybe a similar way of saying setting intentions, but knowing that, like, you might have moments where you feel like you're getting a little rocked by the experience, and to kind of have that, and like putting it up on, like, your desk or next to your bed, but just like some things that are going to ground you, very similarly to what Meg is saying. and really finding those resources, and not like also giving yourself permission to maybe not be the best version of yourself ever through this too. Like it's can be hard, and like giving yourself a break.
Yep.
So that's really important. They always say to remember to breathe, to slow down, to be in your body, to really, really thank yourself and your body for being so loyal to you through this process. It's just like really helpful, I think, for anxiety. So let's see, we can maybe answer like one more question before we go. Yeah, and the hormones are hard, yes. And knowing too, like, sometimes I say, with clients about feelings, it's like the feelings are big and they're something to honor and to respect. And the feelings are not always reality. And I would say that with the hormones, it intensifies the feelings. And so to kind of give yourself the space to feel and also kind of know, okay, this is my feelings like intensified right now, and to give yourself the space for it, but also to not totally attach in the moment to the feelings. It's a bit of a hard thing to give words to, but just to kind of notice, whoa, I'm having a major wave of fill in the blank, anger, sadness, loneliness, grief, frustration, anxiety. I'm having this. I'm going to hold myself in this and hold the space for it. Feelings aren't facts. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I think we kind of covered a lot. Some of these are more medical questions that I would prefer to leave to the nurses, but I think we covered most everything. Meg, are there any last thoughts you want to share before we go about this? Anything?
Just that for as many challenging things that this experience brings up and is hard to go through, there are an equal amount of positives on the other side, right? And yes, of course, I'm speaking of a baby, but neither you or I are at that experience yet either. So I think you and I would both say that we are more courageous, we are braver, we are more compassionate, empathic people since going through this, right? Like this has just as equally brought out as many strengths for me. Would you say the same? Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, I don't know. I think it also just, you become, sorry, I almost dropped something. There's this great, I won't give the whole thing right now, but there's this kind of Japanese proverb. It says, become a lake. And this idea of becoming, I may have shared it with you before, but becoming bigger to contain. It's not that the things that come up in our lives necessarily, like that it gets always easier. The reason it becomes more manageable is because we have more of a capacity to contain what comes up. And I think that this experience for me, like, showed me my strength and my capacity. And I learned so much. I mean, I educated myself so much. I saw like what my resiliency is. And like the other beautiful thing about this is how we can then share it with the people around us, whether they're going through a fertility journey or whatever they're going. Maybe it's another health thing or something else. It's like you just become a well of wisdom and experience. And that's a beautiful thing. And to that point, before we go, you guys, Fertile Spirit is starting in August. We are starting, it's on our website, and I'll put a link in here, but our membership program, which is like group support, facilitated group support by our coaches. So I will be leading groups. Meg will eventually be leading groups. She's also going to be leading monthly moon circles. Our whole team of amazing coaches are going to have stuff to offer you guys, meditations, journaling prompts, other workshops as we go. And it's going to be free for CNY clients for the first 3 months for you to try it out. And these are like weekly groups facilitated. It is not the wild, wild west. We are holding a safe space for you guys to connect, to share, to learn, to grow, to grieve, to celebrate, all the things. So I am so excited about this. I'm going to have more info about that coming up soon. And I'll put a link to our support page, which has info about the Fertile Spirit and also Meg's intuitive fertility community as well that she leads. So I'll put that link to the page on the CNY website in the chat. And I just wish you guys a beautiful weekend and know that there's a lot of support out there. We are here with answers, hopefully, to your questions and just to listen. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Meg.